I love Daniel Gafford. He's here to stay. Daniel Gafford, God bless the USA. Hey guys, I'm actually I just finished a full ramble video about the Thunder. If you guys like the rambles, leave a thumbs up for the United States, huh? Daniel Gafford loves the USA. Daniel Gafford has been extended by the Dallas Mavericks, which was not on the bingo card for me. Especially as like the Mavericks' first move of the offseason. Not on the bingo card for me. Not like the most surprising thing in the world, but very interesting in what this could possibly mean moving forward. And there is one tiny little wrinkle to this story that maybe it's better suited to just wait to do this, but I'm just going to go into it anyways. That makes this all very, very, very interesting. Now, what I'm talking about is the fact that it was originally reported this was 3 years, $60 million, which according to our guy, Yossi Goslin, who is a cap sheet expert, God bless him. I mean, what goes into being a cap sheet expert? It is tough sledding. Very difficult to understand. That the original reported extension by Shams, which was 3 years, around $60 million, meant that the Mavs were getting Daniel Gafford on a smaller annual salary in 1 year less than his maximum, which would trigger a 6-month trade restriction. And then he tweeted right here, he'd remain trade eligible at $54 million. This is in Yossi's tweet. And then Stein clarified that Daniel Gafford's looming contract extension with the Mavericks is a 3-year deal worth $54 million. So this does not trigger the 6-month trade restriction. Why I think it's so interesting is the fact that that was the exact number that was needed to not trigger that 6-month trade restriction. So while I talk about this, I want to just throw that out there that, yes, it sounds as though the Mavs have extended Daniel Gafford, but I don't know if he'll be on the team to start the season, because it is interesting to me that this is the exact number that was needed for him to not meet the requirement to be traded. Now, first and foremost, right, I've been saying this. If you've been following me and listening to me talk about the Mavericks and talk about Daniel Gafford, I've been saying Daniel Gafford is a very good player who is worthy of this kind of money. If you look around starting center salaries across the NBA, like this kind of falls in line, right, with what you see across the league. Okay, like let's look at center contracts. AAV. That means, hey guys, AAV means average annual value. I think so. You have Joel Embiid at 64. If you just scroll down, you start to get to the middle of the pack here. And, you know, you're looking at Clint Capella, 22. That's a contract that's expiring. Miles Turner, 20 is expiring. Vucevic, 20. Jared Allen, 20. That's a great deal. Zubac's 19. That's a great deal. Pirtle, 19. That's a great deal. He's going to be extended. Like Gafford at 3 year worth $54 million. Let's get the calculator out. 54 divided by 3. The Gafford at $18 million is a really good value. Now, where I start to scratch my head a little bit and where this all becomes interesting to me is Gafford $18 million is a really good value deal for a player of his caliber. For the Mavericks is where it starts to get weird, and why I am saying let me just wait a tiny bit to see what plays out, because again, the fact that this was the exact number needed to not kick in a trade restriction is interesting and notable to me. But it does make sense the Mavericks wanted to bring him back. I thought, to me, he was the guy who's likeliest to get traded on the team, only because of the centers the Mavericks have now, with Anthony Davis wanting to play the 4 but is a 5, and Derek Lively being there with the contract extension looming. You know, the reported one at $20 million, and it's $2 million difference, isn't the end of the world. But, you know, $18 million for a player who is almost certainly not closing for you under any circumstances that's positive, if that makes sense. Like, the only world where Gafford's like closing games for the Mavericks is if people are hurt, right? Because Lively will be closing games, and if something were to happen to Lively, or it might even happen anyways, that AD will be closing games at the 5, and they'll go that route, is interesting. But that's only in the context of the Mavs rosters where a number like this is interesting. Anywhere else, this is a great fucking deal, and it is still a good deal with the Mavs. So the Mavs say, look, let's just be honest with ourselves. Anthony Davis is Anthony Davis. His nickname is Street Clothes. I think it's disrespectful, and, you know, I hate anyone who says it. But also the reality is, in Derek Lively's 2 years career, he's played 91 games, right? 55 games his rookie season, 36 games in his second season. So far, we've yet to see Derek Lively prove that he can be a healthy player. going into year 3, and that's a little bit scary. So it's nice to have a little backup. It's nice to have maybe the best backup center in the NBA ready to plug into those to that role if needed. Or, I mean, if I'm a team and I'm looking for a center, and this is a signal from the Mavericks, like, hey, we extended them. You don't have to worry about a flight risk. If we want to make a trade, let's make a trade. This is a fantastic number to get Daniel Gafford. Fan-fucking-tastic, right? Let me just start. Daniel Gafford is a player. I want to pull up some stats. This number right here. These numbers right here. In fact, I tweeted this out. Let me plug my own Twitter. I tweeted this out with the highlights and everything. I've been saying this. If the Mavericks had individual team awards, Daniel Gafford would get most improved. The reason why I say that is I just love the way that he played when Luka Doncic was out with an injury and when Derek Lively went out with an injury. Gafford was thrusted into the starting lineup, played more minutes than he's ever played over that stretch of his career, 30 minutes per game, 15 points per game over that stretch, 10.5 rebounds per game, 3.5 blocks per game, shot 67% from the field. And over a stretch where the Mavericks were just kind of middling, they were a huge positive in the Daniel Gafford minutes when he was on the court. And this stretch right here just kind of showcased that this guy is a starting caliber center in this NBA, 100%. He's a little bit undersized. Yes. Is he a great rebounder for his size? No. The Mavericks are a much better rebounding team when Gafford is off the floor defensively. At least he's a good offensive rebounder, but defensively he leaves a lot to be desired. Is he like a great defender in space? No, not necessarily. Is he a good shot blocker? Yes, absolutely. Would I call him a great defensive anchor? No, not really. But he's a fantastic rim running big. Right, he sets really great screens. He knows what to do in space. He's a great finisher above the rim, really great athlete, can run the floor really well, and is somebody who, can post up and 1, 2, 3 dribbles, could take advantage of mismatches down low, and is always available in the dunker spot and whatever the case may be. So I do think he's a fantastic center. And yeah, for the Lakers, he makes all the fucking sense in the world. Like, it's why this trade's been mocked a million times, Gafford to the Lakers, because he is a perfect fit for them. I just don't know if a trade makes sense for the Mavericks with the Lakers. But it does make sense that the Mavericks want to bring him back. Just have as an insurance policy. Again, he's a very good player. And I want to make that very clear when I've been doing like the Mavs are going to trade Gafford or maybe they should trade Gafford thing. That it was never because like I want this guy off my team. It's because, he's a starting level player. You have that guy coming off your bench and then you're going to have to pay him. And I thought he'd make more than this. So like immediately, that's why I'm saying $18 million a year is really good because I thought he'd make more than that. $18 million for Gafford is a really good number. And I am talking myself into the idea of just keeping him. But you do run into problems financially with that down the line. Maybe you just deal with that down the line because maybe they just go into the season and say, we want Gafford on the team. We don't trust AD and Lively can stay healthy. And that might be the right thing. If we trade at the deadline, we trade the deadline. If not, we can just go into the summer and trade him next summer. If we feel like that's the course for us. It does make me wonder, and there are some more stats I wanted to bring up because I've seen people say that he is a Luka merchant. And yeah, his numbers did go down without Luka. I feel like that's, to be expected. But even then, the numbers, like 70% true shooting without Luka, that's still really good. Rim field goal percentage of 72%, that's still really good. So his numbers are still really good without Luka. And that was one of the things that was really surprising me. Not that I thought he was like Luka dependent necessarily, but again, that stretch where there was no Luka because he was out with the calf injury. I think they traded him during that stretch too. And no Derek Lively. And he's thrusted into the lineup 30 minutes, had never had a stretch in his career where he played that much and performed the way he did before he had an unfortunate knee injury was because everyone got fucking hurt on the Mavericks. Guess what? Including my ass. So, I think he's a really good player, and he had a great stretch this year and really, really impressed me with his growth as a player. So I am happy that he's back, and I'm happy he's under contract, and that's not something that's hanging over the Mavericks' head, right? Good work there, because even it was like, yeah, we'll bring him into the season, and we'll trade him at the deadline, like if that's what we're going to do. Not having him extended is something that's scary. That's never a good feeling. You never want free agents on your team. You never want guys with impending free agencies coming up. It happens from time to time. You'll have restricted free agents, and then you'll have guys like the Reeves situation in LA where it's like, we just cannot pay him what he's worth. So it's good that they did this. It does make me question what's next, right? It does make me question what's next because they need a guard. I want them to trade in the first round so badly. I wonder if we're getting a PJ extension. I thought we were for sure getting a PJ extension. I wonder if that's in the pipeline as well. We are obviously going to get a Kyrie contract. I'm sure we'll hear about that in the coming days, a Kyrie contract. I'm sure we're going to get a PJ extension. I wonder now if maybe PJ's the guy who gets traded, if that's a possibility. I'm not entirely sure. Brad Townsend made a point, and shout out to our guy Brad. I'm not sure. He's, for some reason, anytime I type in Twitter, this tweet pops up. I'm not I'm not entirely sure why, but that's the tweet that always pops up when I go to Twitter. Brad Townsend made a point, and I'm not entirely sure, like, Brad Townsend's a newsbreaker or someone who speculates or anything like that. But he said, pleasantly stunned that the Mavs locked in Gafford also indicates to me they feel good about options for acquiring a point guard to fill early season Irving void. So I kind of come off the idea that the Mavs are going to trade for a guard because it's really difficult to find a trade that makes sense. Like, really, really difficult with salaries and with the Mavs conceding picks down the line, which I don't think they should do. I'm wondering if it's going to be Chris Paul. Like, there's been a couple of reports and rumors there that I do think there's some smoke. And so I'm wondering if that's what it's going to be now. But I said this on Lockdown last night when I was there with Isaac, I think it's going to be kind of a quiet. I said it was going to be a quiet trade deadline for the Mavericks, so they traded Luka Doncic. I think it's going to be a kind of a quiet summer outside of drafting Cooper Flagg, which is very loud, obviously. But I think it's going to be kind of quiet. I don't think there's going to be like a huge, gigantic trade. I did kind of think they might cut into the rotation a tiny bit just out of pure necessity because, they see the writing on the wall with some of these guys and the log jam in the front court. In fact, they're going to have to pay PJ. You're going to have to pay Gafford. I'm willing to bet almost anything PJ is much more expensive than this. PJ's deal, I would say, almost certainly goes into the 20s a year. I'd be stunned. I thought Gafford's was going to go in the 20s, but this isn't that shocking to me. I would be stunned if PJ's under $20 million. And if he is, that's a fucking home run. If he is, he's on the team. Like, there's no trading. If PJ's under 20, he's on the team. I'm worried about what his number might be. I think the most the Mavs can give him is $22 million a year or something along those lines. But this is really interesting to me and honestly a surprise. I didn't expect this. I did not expect this early. I didn't expect this to be the first thing the Mavs did officially. So, again, Gafford's a great player. This is a great number for him. $18 million is a very good number for Daniel Gafford. He has his flaws as a player. Again, I do think Derek Lively is better. AD's obviously better. So he is, to me, a backup big for this Mavs team, which, again, what goes back to why I kind of felt like it was almost necessary for them to trade him because they couldn't afford to keep him and it didn't make sense to pay him that much money. But at this number, if you're just not confident in AD's health and if you're just really adamant AD needs to be the 4, roll my eyes, it shouldn't be the case. But if you're that adamant that AD needs to be the 4 and you're just not that confident in Derek Lively's health, which at this point in his career, why would you be? Yeah, this makes some sense to me. And you can just kind of figure it out down the line. It's a great number for Gafford. I'm really happy about it. $18 million a year for a guy who could produce the way that he produced when he was asked to produce. How about that as a bar? Bet you never heard some shit like that. I'm still scrolling. My God, this guy's got some great tweets. He might be the best tweeter I've ever seen. A 11-game stretch where you're just thrown into the thick of it. And it's just like, hey, man, everyone's dead. Everyone has died. You need to go save us. Gafford said, let me jump on the fucking grenade. Hey, fun story. I have a great-great-grandparent who in World War I jumped on a grenade and died. And I got a purple, he got a purple, I said I got a purple heart. He got a purple heart for it that got passed down through generations. My grandpa has it, and I took it when I was in kindergarten, or first grade. I took it to show and tell, and my fucking grandpa told me that his name was Shiner Bach. And that's what I told everyone, and they believed it. That wasn't his name. Wasn't his name. He was just joking. Anyways, Gafford back on the team. Let me know what you guys think.